Hello everyone, welcome to the Virtual Cheese Awards 2023, where we are showcasing the best of British cheeses. I am Gautam Krishna and I'll be moderating this session. With me, I have two amazing, highly qualified judges here, Hero Hirsch and Richard Newell. Hero, would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Hero Hirsch. I'm the head of retail at Paxton and Whitfield, which is the UK's oldest cheesemonger at 226 years. I've been there only for 14 of them. Very excited about judging some amazing cheeses today.
Richard?
And my name's Richard Newell. I've worked in the British cheese and dairy industry now for just slightly over 40 years in a diverse range of roles, including product development, and worked very closely on benchmarking and selection processes.
So in today's session, we will be judging traditional red Leicesters. And so the judges will use a point systems wherein they will assign score to different attributes of the cheese. And the cheese with the highest score wins the round and moves to the best cheese category stage. So we will start with the first cheese, which will be B31133.
Okay. Should I start with the appearance, Richard?
Yes.
Go for it.
So just as it came out of the packaging, quite a lot of it followed. That may be a transit issue that we have quite a lot of crumble going on this. There is a fair amount of moisture on the surface of this cheese and a highly speckled appearance, which is a little unexpected for me, I think, in a cheese of this type. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that it's a vintage aged cheese of this class. And of course, with cheese, the protein in the milk makes almost like a chicken wire that traps the fat and the moisture. And when the cheese gets sort of very old, those proteins that hold everything together start to get cut and let the water out. So you would tend to get free moisture on a cheese which is kept to sort of an extreme age or extreme maturity beyond possibly its original design. So I'm not surprised. I think it's definitely a very old cheese.
And what would you give that for appearance out of 10?
Well, I mean, we're not sort of doing what we'd say true to type here. I guess having worked in the industry, I understand why there's that free moisture there, so I wouldn't mark it down. In terms of appearance, for me, it's probably a 7 or an 8. You can see where it's starting to go acidic, where you've got some, I don't know if the viewers can see, but there's some very slightly paler patches. And that's where you've got some localized acidity going on, without boring everyone with technical jargon. For me, probably for appearance, it's a 7, but I know what's going on there. What do you think, Hero?
Well, I agree. I mean, understanding why it looks the way it does, I think enhances the score, because without that knowledge, I would say it doesn't actually look quite as appealing because of those things those reactions that are happening. I'd be more comfortable with this. I'd probably go for a 6 from a sort of punter perspective.
Do we do half points?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. We can go for a 6.5.
Should we go 6.5, Hero?
Let's do it.
6.5.
It would be a shame to mark it down, knowing that what the cheese has been through during its life. So
yeah, sure. How does it smell like? How's the aroma?
Very caramelly.
Yeah, sweet. Would you say nutty as well?
I would struggle to identify which type of nut that is. But definitely there's caramel and like fruit, almost sort of pineapple-y kind of aromas, isn't there?
Lots going on.
Yeah. Aroma, I think it's a very pleasant aroma.
Yep.
An 8.
Yeah, I'm definitely there. Exactly that.
Yeah.
For me as well. Yes.
Texture wise, I mentioned that quite a lot of mine had
Yeah.
crumbled even in the packaging. It is a very, very sort of crumbly cheese, but
It's actually,
also quite sticky.
it actually goes back to what I said earlier, that as the cheese gets almost to top end of its age range and the proteins that hold it together start to break down, it lets the free moisture out, which is the glistening we could see on the pack, but also it shortens the texture. So it becomes more a la crumbly in terms of its body and texture. What do you think for texture then for score, Hero?
I'm just going through mouthfeel because that's quite an interesting point for this cheese. It does have a slightly sort of granular, not unpleasant, but something a little crystalline to it.
Calcium lactate crystals.
Mm. I think it has a good texture. I'd be tempted to go for a relatively high score, like an 8.
Okay, I'm with you.
Or
Yeah,
An 8.
I think, as we said earlier, we're not doing true to type. And, you know, if this was a young Red Leicester, arguably we wouldn't want a texture as crumbly as this. But because this one's particularly aged on, the shortness of texture, in my view, is allowed.
it has a nice sort of mouth coating feel as well.
So that's an 8 for the texture. And
Yes.
moving on to flavor.
I mean, it's very full flavored. There's no pause before it hits you.
There's loads going on, isn't there?
Yeah. Very, very deeply savory and sort of quite almost like roast meaty.
Yes. Would you say it's balanced? It's got sweet and savoury and a bit of tang as well?
There's a lot of sweetness. For me, maybe a little bit more sweetness than I would want. But yeah, I guess when we look at the balance, it's fairly well balanced, but for me, the sweetness is a little bit too prominent.
Yeah. Would you buy it again if you'd purchased it as a consumer?
For a certain occasion, maybe, but not for every day.
Yeah.
I think
So
for
how are we
a
looking
specific
for?
audience, I would purchase it. But the sweetness is a bit much for my taste.
For me, that all of us as judges, we have our own personal preferences, and then we have almost like this reference that we have to follow when we're to try to remove subjectivity. From a personal perspective, I'm a huge fan of this.
Okay.
From a true to type, it's way beyond a Red Leicester. Would I buy it again? Certainly. I don't think it's got any vices, but I think it's arguably polarizing. It's distinctive.
Yeah, I think within a Red Leicester category, I have some question marks, but that's not to say that it's unpleasant in any way, because I don't think it is. I'm guessing then that you would go relatively high on the flavour score.
Yeah, I'm sitting between an 8 and a 9, but
would you?
I've been completely open as to my thought process on that.
Yeah, and I think I'm sitting more between a 7 and an 8 personally, just because I'm kind of incorporating a degree of true to type expectations within my scoring, and so I'm kind of marking it down a bit as a Red Leicester.
Sure.
So yeah, between a 7 and 8 for me, we could go in between.
Shall we do a deal and do an 8?
I think we're better.
An 8.
Okay.
Moving on to the next cheese. will be B31046.
I'm just going to clean my
Yeah.
slightly.
Okay, so we've got a red Leicester, obviously. This one looks like it's been cloth bound, allowed some natural rind to grow, a very, very thin natural rind.
What an interesting looking cheese.
Yeah,
And
it's really
it's straight.
dyed, isn't it, with the annatto?
It's definitely been cloth bound. You can see it's been cut. This is where the cloth was, when this was part of a cylinder, you can see where the cloth's,
Yeah.
the string from the cloth's gone.
Yeah.
But looks like it's got lots of age.
As it has been in vacuum pack, I'm just going to cut right into mine and get a better idea of what the appearance is like, because I've just got the sort of wrinkles from the backpack on it at the moment.
It's been rinded because it's actually had a scalded rind that's tough, but it doesn't look to me as though it's been particularly exposed to the atmosphere, because it hasn't got a mold or a flora and fauna on the outside of it except on the top.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit confused
So you
there,
think cloth and then plastic?
yeah, I think so. I think so.
The coloration's really nice and even. I'd say appearance wise, I think it's an attractive piece of cheese.
I think it's stunning.
Yeah. We're going to go right to the top.
Weekend.
9.5.
9.5.
9.5. Sure. Brilliant. Moving
Aroma.
on to
Oh, sorry, Gotham.
nothing. I was just saying moving on to aroma.
Quite a strong, dampish.
Fusty, earthy, rindy aroma.
Yeah. Definitely earthy.
I'm not getting many cheesy aroma. Much cheese aroma, are you?
No, it's not very. And maybe because it's quite a sort of dense, firm cheese, there's less activity kind of creating aroma there. The smell of the rind is really the thing that I'm kind of most able
Undoubtedly younger than the previous sample, so we just have to be a bit careful we don't, for myself, it's note to self, don't subconsciously compare it, you know.
Yeah, sure. I'm not actually finding the aroma hugely. I'm finding the aroma sort of quite dominated by that earthy, musty rind smell, which I'm not thinking that highly in terms of scores for. Maybe a 6.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll go with a 6. It doesn't have any aroma apart from rind.
Would you go 5?
Probably would, to be
I
honest.
would go 5.
Trying to be a little bit
5.
generous there. We'll
Yeah.
go with a 5, shall we?
Yeah.
A 5, yeah, sure.
It's a shame
Moving
after the 9.5 for appearance, but
Oh, yeah, no.
Texture. Got a much, quite a sort of
Cutting it with.
There's quite a bit of springiness to it, isn't there?
It's quite tight textured, isn't it? And it's quite dry. When I say dry, I'm not saying that as a negative, but almost like the cheese has been ripened, exposed. It's almost a bit like the body of dare I say, a farmhouse cheddar. Quite firm bodied.
Yeah, I quite like that though.
Oh yeah.
Mouthfeel wise, it's quite a smooth coating. A little bit of chewiness to it. I think it's quite a pleasant texture, really. I'd be tempted to go quite high, maybe an 8.
Yep, I'm pleasantly surprised there. It's better than I anticipated.
So that's an 8 for the texture. So, moving on to the flavor.
I'm very pleasantly surprised by the flavour as well.
Really deep, savoury, isn't it?
Rich, butterscotchy.
nicely balanced.
Yep.
One
That
moment we have,
was a
having
pleasant
just tried
shock.
it right up next to the rind, as we found with the aroma, that rindy flavour is quite strong there. Taking cheese from the centre,
I guess that's where the rind's to protect the cheese, so I guess we should take it from the centre. Sorry, viewers talking with my mouth full there.
the cheese in
Lemony.
the centre, I'm really enjoying, actually. I would go
It's
for
superb. It's superb. Subtle, isn't it?
good salting, like good salt level.
Yep. Complex, creamy mouth feel. I know we've done body and texture.
And nice length as well.
Oh.
And if you're going back for it, Richard, I'm thinking we should be going upwards towards a 9.
I'm definitely on a 9.
Great. Okay, I'm very happy with that.
So that's a 9 for the flavor.
Here, I have to say, considering when I took the aroma, I was quite disappointed. But what a wow flavour.
Yeah. No, it's very pleasing.
Another one that's going in my fridge at home.
Right, now that brings us to the end of this class, and the winner cheese is B31046. Before winding up, I'd like to thank our amazing judges. Judges, thank you so much for taking part in this. Your knowledge and the attributes that you bring to the table is highly appreciated. And also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Butler's Farmhouse Cheeses. As you can see, their apron, nice, bright orangey. Also, I would like to mention about the live event on the 17th of May, where the best of classes in categories Best Welsh, English, Scottish, and Irish cheese, along with awards that kind of recognizes the talent and passion of different youngsters and people in the industry. Also, the day where we'll be crowning the Supreme Cheese Awards for the 2023. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.